welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the studio, aka the loft. And nice to see you. It's good to be back. I'm back from Berlin. I was back last night. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm absolutely knackered. Today has just been a bit of a chill day, get myself back together. But I thought I'd jump on and we'd do a live stream and we talk about things before we get back to the regular content tomorrow, because we have a hell of a lot to talk about. We've had a big few days. Same thing that happens every time I go away. I don't know if you have noticed this, but every time I seem to go somewhere, something big is happening. I remember last year when I went to the Balkans and I went around Croatia and those kind of countries. I remember when we went over there, Brendan Rodgers became manager of Celtic, basically. I remember when I was in Tenerife last year, Celtic were really struggling and we lost to Kilmarnock, which was obviously huge in itself and a lot of conversations. We also won our first Champions League group stage match in 10 years. This time, while I'm away, not only do we have transfer deadline day, not only do we have a Champions League draw, not only do we have a Glasgow derby, we just have all the drama that goes alongside it, and I feel like I've missed it all and I've not been able to talk to you all about it properly. I tried my best to do a couple of wee videos, as you know, while I was there, but we're back to the normal setup. We're back to the editing softwares. We're back to hopefully having graphics. We're back to normal starting tomorrow, but I thought that we'd jump on tonight and talk and catch up. You can hear my opinions on everything, and I can give you my opinions on everything, while also just having a wee bit of a laugh. This is a bigger return than CM Punk's. Nothing will be bigger than CM Punk's, but I do appreciate it. Thank you for bearing with me, and thank you for sticking by me in the last few days. I understand that obviously a lot has gone on, and I've not been here to talk about it. But, you know, nonetheless. And before we kick off, and before we get into Q's and A's, and before we talk about everything that's happened, I think it's got to be really... Sorry, if you notice me struggling to speak tonight, right? And I don't mean to sound like a barking bastard. And no, I've not been going round the streets of Berlin kissing prosies or anything like that before you start joking. Had it before I went to Berlin. I've got a cracker of an ulcer. And I know it's bogging, right? But it's a struggle to speak with it. So if you hear me struggling, that's the reason. So, right, just none of your jokes, right? Jesus. Thanks for refraining on the jokes, I will add. What I would like to say before we go any further, very, very quickly, some of the comments you might be looking at, what's this? What's this? Why is there wee badges beside John's name or Wizard Mortal's name or Marcus's name? Well, that's because they have joined the new 118 Club or Thunder Club, which if you've missed already is a new channel membership service that we started just before I went away, or while I was away I should say. We've already had a good few people who have signed up for the 118 Club / Thunder Club, and the benefits of joining those clubs will start very, very soon now that I'm back and now they're ready to begin. So I know that a lot of people have questions about the membership service. I will answer any of them that you want me to answer tonight. What I will want to make clear right now very quickly is I'm not going to start every video and live stream we do telling you to sign up and join. I'll always give it a wee brief mention here and there. You'll always have the option to join it. The link is below in the description and below via the join button. But in case you're wondering, and because you're trying to maybe get used to it, well, that's what the wee logo is beside people. That's why it's there. So there is 2 tiers of membership. You can go down below and check it all out. Cam is one of the people who have joined. Hi, Cam. And as part of the package, as part of the one of the priorities of the membership is priority comments. So if you comment and you're part of the Ryan 118 Club or the Thunder Club, you will get priorities in streams and comment sections. So Richie, hail. Cam saying, I've listened to many videos and podcasts since the review. Did you find a pub to watch the game? I did, Cam. We went to the Astra something, home of the Berlin CSC, put it that way. We were in there. It was down the south side of the city. It was really, really nice. I enjoyed the game there. Hail to you, Richie. Dylan, thank you for becoming a member and welcome to the club. Yes. What would make it better if there was a content to comment on? I've been on holiday, Wizard Mortal. You're loving being a member. I've seen you giving me it stinking. Right, let's talk about Celtic, shall we? We want to get into that because I've already been live for 5 minutes and we haven't even fucking spoke about the football. If people want to ask about Berlin, I'll happily answer, but we have a huge amount to talk about. If I got my Champions League package sorted, well, we'll soon see, Murray. It's I don't even know what order to start in. I think we should probably go back to the derby first, shouldn't we? Because it's kind of the calm after the storm now, and I think a lot of people will want to hear more of my opinions on that. People who want to become members or whatnot, I'm saying how to join the club. Below the video, there's a big join button. There should be below this, or not, top line of the description. Yeah, Celtic were really, really good on Sunday, I thought. No, well, I take it back. We weren't really, really good. We were good. We done the key things right in scoring our goals, but we were nowhere near our best. And that's the difference between Celtic and Rangers at the minute. I think that Celtic are just a vastly better team in the sense that we don't need to play to our 100% to batter Rangers. Celtic can play at 50% and they will batter Rangers. They are miles off us in every one of these derby games at the minute. Seems to be a case of men against boys. And I don't say that just to be the ruthless, green-tinted spec, looking for clicks Celtic YouTuber. I say that because I genuinely do believe that Celtic right now play like men and Rangers play like boys. And that's just how it goes at the minute. Brendan Rodgers has absolutely controlled Rangers since returning back. He controlled Rangers in his first time here as well. Rangers are in a state of meltdown, you could say. You've seen their fans turn up to the stadium and you hear the boos online from Celtic Park. You know, it's a really toxic environment at Rangers at the minute, and right now Celtic are just on top of that, and Celtic are controlling that, and we've seen that through our performance on Sunday. I was a big fan of Paulo Bernardo in the midfield. I feel like I haven't even spoke about him enough. I've done my kind of tipsy match reaction video where I did try to cover things in a little depth, but I really want to talk about Paulo Bernardo and how good he was for me, because I think that he was unbelievable on Sunday, and I think he's made a real conversation for himself to be the player that starts the next few games, that starts our first game in Europe. Now, Arnie Engels has come in, and we've got to talk about Arnie Engels. And we probably will talk about him. But, you know, Rio Hatate, for example, had a very poor game. You can make that conversation right now. You can make that point that the midfield three in the next couple of games could be McGregor, Bernardo, and Engels. Because he's a record signing. He's got to play. He's got to start. That amount of money's been spent on him. But Bernardo looked far too good to drop, and he deserves to be rewarded for that performance, I would say, at the weekend. So he was just brilliant for me. Everything he was doing was liquid. Everything that he was doing was just worked. And yeah, he was the key man for me. Him and McGregor were just brilliant. McGregor's goal, oh wow! I mean, Jesus. Yeah, we just looked so good. Alistair Johnson, I said on the podcast, could arguably be and it might be a little bit ambitious in predicting it. I predicted Alistair Johnson to be my man of the match, and I don't think that Alistair Johnson was far away from a man of the match performance. He was so good. There was nobody really on the park that was a letdown. I think the closest was Rio Hatate. I think he was a bit underwhelming for his standards, but it wasn't like he was bad by any stretch of the imagination. He just wasn't having as good a game as McGregor aside him, or Bernardo aside him, or just into games as usual standards. But everybody, even Liam Scales, deserves a lot of credit for that game at the weekend. He started poorly. The first 10 minutes, when Rangers had more of the ball, when Rangers were kind of dominating the game, in the opening 10, he was struggling with the passing as usual. But when it comes down to pure defending, I thought that he had a really good game. Liam Scales. So look, listen, everybody deserves their credit and their flowers for their performances at the weekend, and I really think that, you know, this league this year is, I don't like making outlandish statements. I'm not saying that Celtic are already champions. I'm not saying that the league's done. I'm not making any statement like that. But you cannot look at Celtic at the minute and see a viable challenge ahead of them. And that could change over time. That could change as we get towards January. You never know the sorts of form that teams will go through. Rangers could hit form. Celtic could go through bad form. Right now, you just can't look past Celtic. You can't. They've been far too good. So, yeah, it was a great performance. Kyogo with another derby goal. It's nuts. It's honestly, it's nuts. I just want to give shout outs very quickly again to number one Dylan, who's become a member of the pod. We've got a few people signing up to get memberships in. We've got shout out Central NC2756. Thank you, Ben Shields as well, and Skugan. Welcome to the 118/Thunder Club. I don't know what one you have joined, but welcome to the club anyway. It is much appreciated. A lot of people asking, people saying they don't have a join button. I know the join button can be really weird. It doesn't show up all the time. If you can't see a join button, go to the video description underneath, and there is a top line there that says come and join the channel. Click that link and that will take you over to become a member. Thank you to Mark for the donation. Bernardo's ball over the top for Johnson was a joy. It was. I just think there was nothing negative about Bernardo's performance, and I think the only thing now that we're waiting on Bernardo is him to get up to that 90-minute fitness, because I think that any other week, if it was later on in the season, it wouldn't have been him getting taken off the park 60, 70 minutes in, whenever it was. He was subbed at the weekend. I think he would have played, and I think he would have stayed on for the whole 90. But, you know, he's clearly not ready for the 90 minutes yet. You could see as he went off the park, he was looking a bit knackered. But he was just brilliant. His passing was brilliant. Do you know what it was like? It was almost as if the Brendan Rodgers said, Matt O'Reilly, just copy what he does. Just do what Matt O'Reilly does. And obviously Matt O'Reilly is a magical, one-of-a-kind player that I think will struggle to replicate here at Celtic. But Bernardo's performance was one of those ones that was just as good as a Matt O'Reilly performance. That's how good he was at the weekend. He was absolutely brilliant, and I will not stop raving about it. One of the great derby performances in recent times for me. It was a joy to watch him. Thank you for the donation, Mark. Kuhn was never offside. Yeah, look, listen, we're at the stage of football where the game is gone and it's been absolutely ruined by the VAR decisions that come in and look at every decision with such scrutiny. Now, I know it's simple and easy to say, well, it's offside, so the decision's right to call it offside. But what is he an offside? A pubic hair. He has a toenail over the line and the goal's chopped off. And it's not just a Celtic thing. You know me, if you've been watching my channel long enough, and I know a lot of you have been here for a while, I've never been a fan of VAR. I was never an advocate for it to come to the league. I was never an advocate for it to come to football altogether. Just decisions like that kills the game for me. But listen, Celtic, if they were at the 100% of the weekend, Celtic could have put even more past Rangers. And I don't even think that's exaggerating. I think that we could have put 6 or 7 by them if Celtic played to their 100%. And I think part of that is these little things like teething issues of big changes, teething issues without Matt O'Reilly being in the team, for example, and just things that are changing. So, you know, if we play at 100% against them next game, even if it's at Ibrox, I think we could do some great things this season. Alan Morton, thank you for joining the club. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the members only live streams. Remember, if you enjoy these live streams and you want more of them every week, then join the club and you'll get exclusive ones with members only. Cam asking, do I think that Bernardo cements his place in the side for the upcoming game? I think the next game he's got to start. Absolutely. I think he's got to. If we had a better VAR, it'd be okay. What are we supposed to do with these stupid lines we get up here? Yeah, I mean, that system that was at the Euros, I actually don't mind as much, but it's just, you know, they can't afford it. They're never going to get it up here, are they? Which is annoying. Drawing the lines at different angles. Yeah, I do you know what? I've not even watched back the game since I watched it live in Berlin. So I need to actually go and look at it again. I'm not going to do it right now, but I want to go and look at it again because the only time I've seen it was that upon that first time of watching. So yeah, I want to go and get the Celtic Champions League group up ahead of me, just for a visual aid here on the channel. Paul, hello. BR has to play that same team next game because the players have done everything good. I would swap Hatate for Engels and that's it. Yeah, I'd agree, Paul. 100%. Chill, Pal, hello. Welcome to the club. Nice to see you. The people keep going on about McLaughlin's... Sorry, not McLaughlin. Why am I thinking McLaughlin? People keep going on about Buckland's positioning, but still can't get over how good Kyogo's goal was. Ridiculous finish. We played a blinder keeping a hold of him in the window. No, absolutely. Listen, we can go on and on and on about Buckland's positioning, but it's still a top finish. There's no doubt about that. It's still a top finish. But Buckland is, you know, Buckland's one of the most overrated keepers I've seen in this country in a while. And when you see the compilations of his mistakes from last year and stuff like his position and stuff like getting down and low to the left, it's so easy. Kyogo's done it. Kyogo has filled that role of hitting it low to the left. and he's a good shot stopper at times, Buckland. Of course he is. I'm not saying he's a bad keeper, but the last year he's up for Player of the Year. He's up for all these awards and all the rest of it. And if he's really just, I don't know. Highlight merchant. Voice Tech, hello, it's good to see you. How you doing? We're going to get into talking about some other things and getting just proper Q&A going. But Voice Tech, thank you for the donation, saying, hello Ryan, it's a pity for us that Celtic and Sparta Prague weren't drawn in a match in the Champions League. Good luck to Celtic for the season. Good luck to Sparta as well, Voice Tech. I was watching the Champions League highlight shows the last couple of weeks and looking on at Sparta quite keenly, actually, because every time they pop up, I think of you, funnily enough. And I was watching the draw to see what was happening. So yeah, it's a shame that they haven't been drawn against each other, but listen, I'm sure that will be plenty of chances and opportunities over the next couple of years with this new format, as long as both of us keep winning league titles. So good luck to Sparta as well. Thank you for the donation. Shall we talk about the Champions League draw very quickly, and then we can come back and do a Q&A, and you can ask about anything. You can ask about the derby, you can ask about the Champions League, you can talk about, we'll probably go on a little bit longer tonight. Usually I only go to half hour, but because I've been away, we'll probably go on a wee bit longer. And that's the main thing. Let's have a look at Celtic's Champions League draw. I did do a video talk about this as well, where I was a little bit more sober and I feel like a bit more coherent. This is Celtic's Champions League draw for the new league phase. And it is a nice one, isn't it? I think everybody's pretty pleased with this draw. Our home games we have got, and we start off against Slovan Bratislava, Young Boys of Switzerland, Club Brugge of Belgium, and wait for it, it wouldn't be Ryan 118 without saying it, Rasenballsport Leipzig of the Bundesliga. And then the away games, we've got Borussia Dortmund, Atalanta of Italy, Dinamo Zagreb, and Aston Villa down south in our Champions League draw. Ryan, can you do an impression of Brendan Rodgers inspecting a tin of Quality Street? I wish I had a tin of Quality Street up here. There used to be one. Not for me, I don't like Quality Street. I think my dad was keeping them up here. I'll need to come back to it at the end. I can't even think about what's in a tin of Quality Street right now. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, there's a toffee triangle in there. I'll be taking one of them. Beautiful. Oh, there's Matt's favourite there. I'll send that down to Brighton for him. Sorry. Get back to the Champions League draw. This is a good draw. This is a really, really good draw. Listen, every game's held in the Champions League, and I have an utter respect for all of these teams. I have respect for Leipzig all the way down to Slovan Bratislava. This is a draw that Celtic are still going to have a tough time with, because there is just no such thing as an easy draw in the Champions League. Leipzig I'm looking forward to, because I think they are an exciting team. They're my pick to win the Bundesliga this year. I actually kind of wanted to avoid them, but now that we've got them, I'm like, no, I'm quite excited to play them. Should be a really good, fast-paced game of football. Aston Villa, Unai Emery, who is a European mastermind. How many times he won the Europa League? Unbelievable. He's got Aston Villa playing some phenomenal football. Borussia Dortmund, last year's Champions League finals. This is still the Europa League winners of last year at Atalanta. This is a tough draw. It is a really tough draw, but it's been nicer to Celtic than what it potentially could have been. And it's been nicer to Celtic than a lot of our previous draws, which of course only had the three other sides that we'd play. We are obviously going to talk about it a bit more in depth when I can get your questions and such for them. If I was to run through each team very quickly and give my early predict, we're going to do a proper wee series over the next couple of weeks and try and inspect some of these opponents. How many points you get us through is a good question. I think that you're looking, you need to get at least 12 to be in the conversation. You need to win 4 of those games to make it through. You need 12 points, I think. 10, I'm saying 10 is possible, but you're relying on results to go. 12 is the definite, I would say, and 10 is maybe getting you in there depending on your goal difference and all that other jazz. I think that you're needing to aim for that 12 though. 12 is the magic number, but this is the first time we're going to see it play out in person. So I really hope that we can get those amount of points. Listen, you want to win all 4 games at home. And Celtic should win all 4 games at home. As I said, let's try and talk about all of them very, very quickly. I'm going to save that for the next few weeks, more in depth, but let's talk about them all very, very quickly. Leipzig, I think, is the toughest game here. I think that Leipzig are, as I said, the team that are going to win the Bundesliga this season. Very strong team, very attacking team. Xavi Simon's the player to watch, and I'm very excited to see how that will go. Club Brugge, good team. Champions of Belgium, of course. A team at Celtic Park should be beaten. We should be beating them. once again, I show them all the respect in the world, but you've got to win those games if you want to stand any chance. And Celtic have built a team that should be beating Club Brugge. So yeah, I want us to win that game. We should be winning that game, but I show all the respect in the world to them. Just similar to the other two sides, young boys of Switzerland and Slovan Bratislava of Slovakia, because two champions of their nations. Once again, two sides who have got themselves into the similar position as Celtic, dominating and winning league titles in their countries, and looking to try and make a mark in Europe. The thing is, and this is where we can't get ignorant. This is where we can't get arrogant as Celtic supporters. Yes, we should win these games at Celtic Park. But if you look at Young Boys, for example, they're a team who in recent years, against all odds, have actually got wins in Europe. They've actually made their mark in Europe. They have done well on certain occasions in their Champions League / Europa League efforts. Celtic haven't. Celtic haven't had success in Europe for 20 years now. So yeah, that one will be an interesting game with Young Boys, and the same with the other two. People ask, see the question, talking about German football, how do you think Dortmund will be? Listen, Dortmund, still a very good side, going under a change, going through a transitional period. Now is the time to draw Dortmund. I would have much rather Dortmund this year than last year. Terzic has now left the club, and I think that the move from him over to Nuri Sahin as the new manager will play an impact on Dortmund. They're not going to be Champions League finalists this year. No chance about it. They've also lost two massive names at the club, Marco Reus and Mats Hummels. Both have left. Both are gone. There's my group chat. Pop them off down at the side. I should probably close this off now, actually. There we go. So yeah. Hold on, I've been getting messages. What is it I was trying to say? I've lost my train of thought. Dortmund, yeah, they've lost Mats Hummels, they've lost Marco Reus. Yes, both players in their elder years, but nonetheless, gone. Atalanta, Dinamo Zagreb, Aston Villa. Aston Villa, the toughest away tie, in my opinion. Tougher than Borussia Dortmund. That down to the fact that they are now a English side who can challenge for the top 4 or 5, I think, year after year with Unai Emery in charge, with the players that they currently have at the club. So yeah, tough draws overall. And bring it on. We've invested well. The transfer window ended in a strong fashion. And that's the important thing. So, yeah, important wins, that's what we need. Home wins, that's what we need. And we need to just show a bit of confidence in this. But last year, I think that we've seen enough from Celtic in the Champions League to show that Rodgers is definitely heading in the right direction with the way that they play, that the way that they can navigate these European games. And I think one important thing from this group is, there isn't somebody who I sit and look at and think they could give us a hiding. Last year when I went to Madrid, I sat down. I remember being there in the Metropolitano. I sat down in my chair in the stadium, and I thought to myself, we could get battered here. We could, and I have a feeling we might, and we did. We got beat 6-0. I think we can avoid that in all of those away games, and that's an important part of the process, I think, in Europe. So yeah, that's a huge thing to talk about, a huge thing to think about. Champions League draw. What is your thoughts before we get into the Q&A and such? I want to hear your thoughts for us when it comes to Champions League football. Brugge topped a group with Porto and Atletico about 2 years ago. Not an easy one at all, but still one of the better draws from Pot 2. My thoughts exactly, Danny. Randy, I think Dundee United will beat Rangers in their next game. I think they will. Probably not. Probably not. I think optimistically, you'd be hoping for that, of course, but Rangers will bounce back, I think. It shows the group chat. God, I wouldn't do that for the sake of my pals, you know. Jigs, welcome back, Ryan. 4 homes, Real Champions League wins. I fucking hope so, Jigs. I really hope so. How's things? Good, Dylan. Most of my family are Villa fans. I'm hoping we get something from that. Otherwise, it will be torture. Yeah, I wouldn't like to live through that. I love getting the English teams, but, and I've said this for years on the channel, I think that Celtic always turn up against the English teams. It's almost as if we have a point to prove. It's like our performance levels go up a bit. It's also the advertising game for the players that want to move. You know, guys like, I don't mean to sound cynical, and I know you might be thinking to yourself, why is this your fault, Ryan? But, you know, guys like Rio Hatate, who have been very open and honest about wanting to move down south in their careers. It's a big addition. You know, it's a game to catch the eye of the English Premier League. So, yeah, I feel like we always raise the level against English teams, so I'm really looking forward to that one. Connor saying I think that we can get 10 points easily, and 12 and 15 is possible. Wow, it's not, isn't it? Because we do. It's this point of year, I love it. I love it at this point of year because we're all optimistic, we're all happy, we're all going, oh, we can do this. And then it gets to match day 1 and we're all live, we're all live in the live stream in the channel, whatever, and we're all saying, fucking end the Champions League, we want out. But I love the optimism, I really do. With the transfer window still open. Right, with the transfer window still open, could Celtic buy from... Oh, we talk about Turkey. Oh, I have no idea. No, Celtic can't add to their team now. That's it. Shut. We can't sign anybody else. Correct. If we win one game, it's the Villa game for me. Would love us to get a result down there. I'd love us to get a result down there. I've always liked Villa a little bit. You know, I've always had a bit of a... Because I'm Martin O'Neill, I always grew up kind of wanting to see them win. So it's going to be an exciting game. I mean, if you told me 3 or 4 years ago that Aston Villa were going to be in the Champions League, I'd have laughed at you. But they got one thing right in sacking Steven Gerrard and bringing in Unai Emery. They literally went from a Morris Minor to an Aston Martin and Unai Emery, quite frankly. Bald says, I'd be happy with 4 wins and no scuddings, but I think the team can do very good things with Rodgers. Rattle the English fans if we beat Ella, absolutely. Yeah, you can sell players to Turkey, you just can't sign them, would you? They can still sign players because their window's open, but ours is shut, so we couldn't add. What do I think about the scenes outside Ibrox every night? Funny. Am I going to? I'm not. So this year, Paul, I'm actually not going to any of the away games. Not going to any this year, unless a ticket pops up. If a ticket pops up, then I'll maybe think about it, but I doubt it. It's just the way that I've looked. Look, listen, I've had my fun with the European away trips, and I want to do them my whole life. But without a guarantee of a ticket, I'm not blindly booking up to go over and stress about getting them. So, yeah, this year is just kind of holding back and waiting to see what happens. But as the plan goes, I'm not going to be at any, which means there'll be content for you guys, and I won't be away. So I hope you can be happy with that. Imagine if we got bogus. I know. But we got Luke McCowan. Looks like the Sharks are doing Jesus. The Sharks, God almighty. Right, let's do a Q&A, shall we? Should we do a Q&A? I've kind of covered. See, this is the thing, Paul, right? People always say this to me every year, and they're like, surely you could get a ticket. And the way that I look at it is, yeah, I could maybe get a ticket. I like asking the people I know. I would never go on Twitter and start begging for tickets. And I know people don't really mind, but I've seen other people in similar situations, so-called influencers or so-called podcasters, going on Twitter and asking for tickets, and they get it stinking. And to be honest, I understand why they get it stinking. Because there's so many people ahead of me in the queue that deserve a fucking ticket for these games. So just because I have 46,000 subscribers on YouTube, doesn't make me feel any more entitled than anybody else to get a ticket. I've never bothered asking. If I can get one off people I know, if I can get one myself, that's fine. But I would never go out and start tweeting to try and beg. It's just, yeah, it's not so much for me. Listen, I have hopefully a long time left on this planet. I'm sure I'll get to plenty in my next 30, 40 years of living. I am the most followed Celtic channel. Thanks to you guys. Thanks. Old Trafford Legends game in the away end, and the price is ridiculous. 32 notes for a friendly. That is absolutely nuts, isn't it? No, not for away games anyway. Not for home games either. So right, anyway, Q&A time. Right, let's get the questions and answers. Once again, as we always do at this point in the stream, I'd like to give a shout out to those who have donated or become a member during the stream so far. So thank you to Dylan, thank you to NC2756, thank you to Ben, Scuggin, Alan, Chillpill, and thank you for the donations from Mark and Wojciech. Q&A time. Let's go, shall we? I would like to answer some questions. When am I getting in the ring? Never. I am not an athlete, so I doubt ever. Thoughts on Luis Palma? Does he have it in it? Maybe a decent winger. I was 50-50 last year. Sometimes great, but missing that final touch. Palma's in a really sticky situation right now. I fear for his future. The club did reject offers for him, which shows that Rodgers wants him at the minute. But I think that that's only because of how light we are in the wingers department. We don't have a lot of quality in the wings, and if we lost Palmer, I think we would have been really lacking that depth that we maybe need. But I fear for the future of his Celtic career. I think that once we sort it out and make signings in that part of the pitch, Palmer could be one of the first players to leave. I fear that we've maybe seen the best of him, and the best isn't quite good enough. But I want him to do better, and I think that somewhere deep down inside him, I think there is a player there, but he's just not showed it yet, which obviously isn't handy. So yeah. Let's see, do you think the attack needs... Yeah, I want a winger in January. I've not made that a secret. I would like a winger in January. Do you think Barry will start or Taylor? But look, listen, Taylor was brilliant at the weekend, and Taylor doesn't deserve to be dropped at the minute. But it'll be interesting to see what the quality is like of Baye, and if it's significantly better, then that'll answer the question. But until we see it, I think it's hard. Where can we sub to the Celtic the Funder for the extra content? It'll just be through this. If you're part of the Funder Club, it'll be probably the next episode we film. We'll be releasing the bonus content in the members only section. Don't worry, Dylan. I'll get all the details out to the members as time moves on. Who do you think will miss out in the squad? That's coming up, Paul. We're going to do a video on that this week, talking about squad depth and the look of the squad in general, so we'll have a look at that through the week, don't worry. Do you think Engels should start ahead of Bernardo in 2 weeks' time? Not necessarily, but I do want to see Engels starting, so it's a tough one. What do you think about Greg Taylor not getting a contract? I think it's a disgrace. Don't jump to any conclusions too quick. I think that conversations will be happening. I think that you've got to remember at the end of the day, right, this conversation with Greg Taylor will definitely be happening. I think it's probably already happening. But if Greg Taylor's been told that the plans for him next season is to be backup, Greg Taylor's not going to be inclined to sign on and remain a Celtic player. Greg Taylor knows he's good enough to probably go down south or abroad or somewhere else and still play every single week. So if Brendan Rodgers has been honest with him and said, listen, Alex is coming in to be the new starter, next year you probably won't be starter, I think it'll be Greg Taylor who would have wanted to say no, not the club. So still a lot of time before we jump to any of those conclusions. Thank you to Ouija for signing up. Absolute legend. I'm going to have to start streaming through the other software so I can get the alerts coming up screen with the sound effects. Dan with the $4.99. Thank you, Dan. I really do appreciate that. Honestly, I would start both Engels and Bernardo in our first Champions League game. Celebrating my 27th birthday today. Cheers for all Celts. Happy birthday. Happy 27th. And thank you for the donation, Dan. You shouldn't be donating to me. It's your birthday. Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. And do you know what? Right now, if you were to ask me right now, I would be agreeing with you. Absolutely. Do I think the club is in a good place? Well, yeah, I mean, you compare it to Rangers Football Club, and we are literally the best run club on the planet, aren't we, if you compare it to them across the road. Listen, I can never escape the feeling that we're incredibly lucky to be where we are as a football club, especially when you consider where we were 30, 40 years ago. You know, we're lucky to be where we are right now. Could we be run better? Absolutely. But I'll always be grateful for the position that we are in. I just wish that sometimes the ambition was as high as it is with the fans, but hopefully we're seeing the first signs of that with the way that the transfer window ended. Let's see. What do you think of the Engels cameo? Looked tidy, yeah, looked fine. Nothing. The game kind of calmed down by that point. It was one of those ones like I thought him, McCowan, and everybody else who came on late in the game really just came into a more calm atmosphere, not in terms of the stadium, but just like a calm game, a wee bit more slowed down a little. But yeah, looked fine. I'm really looking forward to seeing him after the international break. Doig isn't really an upgrade in my opinion. Happy birthday, Dan. But people mentioning Doig, yeah, listen, I'm not even going to sit and pretend that I think Doig would be an upgrade, because I've never really sat and watched him play in Italy. And Taylor is really underrated. You know, people don't appreciate Taylor enough, but he's a good player, man. It's been interesting that fans have been taken to Valley on loan, as considering that he's a similar building size to Greg. One of the biggest complaints was his physicality. Yeah, it's true. I've not actually looked up his like height and weight and all that since the talk about him signing, so it's never really crossed my mind too much, the stuff about the physicality. I have not seen that interview. No, is it good though? Let me know. McCowan will be great. I hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Johnson deserves more credit. I think Johnson gets a good amount of credit, especially from me. I give Johnson credit like mad. He's one of my favourite players in the whole squad. I think he's absolutely brilliant, Brooklyn. Absolutely brilliant. I love him. Christoph Waltz, I know. I was mad as I was in Germany as well. I was like, oh my God, we've swapped. It was him I gave my ticket to. Brilliant. One of my favourite actors in the whole world. So when I seen he was there, I was like, what? Seen him in a Celtic scarf, I was absolutely buzzing. Because I loved him as Bloomfield and Bond. I'm a big Bond man, me. And he was fucking brilliant in that. He's obviously amazing in Inglourious Basterds, one of my favourite films that I've ever seen. Thank you, Graham, for joining the club. It is appreciated. Thank you. Hopefully you enjoyed it. The bonus content, keep an eye out. We'll be announcing when all that's starting very, very soon. We need some Dyson praise. Yeah, once again, Dyson Maeda, absolutely fantastic. He is unbelievable in what he brings to the pitch for Celtic. And listen, for not being the greatest footballer in the world, what he does is unreal. You know, it can really make or break a game for Celtic. And listen, he owns James Tavernier's arse, doesn't he? So, yeah. Lubo, it should be next week. We've not picked yet. We're still in the process of picking because we've had so many applicants. There's still some applicants that I've not actually got back to yet. But if you have applied and you're wondering when your reply is coming, it will, but we've genuinely not picked yet because we're not filming this week. We'll be back in the studio next week. So it should be next week the new person debuts, whoever is the one that gets picked. This ulcer is really getting on my nerves. Let's see. I seen the post that was I see you are hiding the trophies under the floorboards. Because, yeah, what an actor. What an actor. Did I get? No, I did not get Oasis tickets. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there. I've went that wee bit extra over the half hour that we've done. I think the board deserves praise. Of course they do for certain things. Look, listen, you can't sit and say that they don't deserve praise for some things, but they deserve to be called out just as much, if not so more. And yeah, simple as that. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there for tonight because this is a longer one, and yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, the regular content will resume once more. Anybody who's part of the 118 Club or Thunder Club, keep an eye out in the community sections as well, as I put posts up on there to try and get things organised for the exclusive content. But thank you for joining in tonight, ladies and gentlemen. It's really been appreciated. It's class to be back. I'm glad to be back, and I'm glad to be getting back into the regular content. So, yeah, take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.